just to kick off the conversation, I'd like to basically ask, apart from Den's investment recently, the cable TV sector has not been really attractive to investors so far. They've been thinking it's kind of slackening, despite FDI being opened up. What has paralyzed?
If you look at all the public companies, we are all public companies, City Cable, Den, ourselves, and our numbers are public. So people know the stress which all of us have on the balance sheet.
I'll give this one.
Yeah, so I think it's, the FDI has been pretty liberal in this sector. A foreign company can get 100% in cable TV, but nobody has ever evinced any interest. The reason is that we have to demonstrate a business case. I think, as we go along with digitization, there has been some roadblocks we've got, as you all are well aware. And these roadblocks have really put a lot of stress on our balance sheet. And for example, as we speak now, all of us are sitting on a huge inventory of set-top boxes. The reason is because phase 3 itself has not taken off. Now, if you are an investor and looking at this as a potential investment, you look at these factors and say, okay, let this market settle down, and then probably take a view. So I still see a lot of potential. I think if you look at the valuations now, they're very attractive. And if I were there in their position, I would definitely come into this market. There is a lot of scope to grow. Broadband is an area which has been completely untapped. And a wired connection to the home is the best broadband connection anybody can have. So I think we are waiting, and I'm sure once we demonstrate our business case, the floodgates for FDI will open up. I mean, if you look at the broadcast sector, you've got all the best, foreign broadcast companies in India, and they are investing huge amounts of money. I mean, Disney is your main sponsor, so they're looking at India as a great market, and that's why they're making these investments. Same is the case with Fox, Viacom, Sony. All of them are looking at, but in the broadcast sector, there is a little more clearer, business model there. And we as a cable TV business need to demonstrate the business model, and I'm sure investments will come.
Fantastic. So, we are in the 4th year of the mandated digitization. Has the customer learned that he has to pay more for cable TV, or is he still not learned that? And how do we make him aware that, he's been getting diamonds when he's been paying for copper?
I beg to differ. I think we're giving him platinum when he's paying us for copper.
Okay.
Right? So the issue is about getting the whole DNA of a consumer-focused business into the cable TV sector. And the ARPUs in our country has been very low. $3 to $4 a month is pathetically low. I think that needs to go up. When you compare a similar service anywhere else in the world, it's nothing less than $40 to $50. So we need to increase the consumer price. There's no question that the consumer price have been artificially kept low. No business, no product or service in this country has not had an inflationary increase. Even sugar, even cement. If you look at all those industries, they've seen some inflationary increase over a period of time, but cable TV has been stuck in that 250 to 300 range for a very long time. So I think there is a need to go.
No, but is the consumer aware that he has to pay more, and is he open to paying
No, I think consumers will pay for value. I think one of the things which we'll have to do is to demonstrate value for what we're giving him. Now, a lot of the times it's just one size fit all kind of a package. Now we need to develop a good consumer-focused package, and all of us are doing that. In fact, we have made some significant inroads into packaging,
Absolutely.
Especially in phase 1 and phase 2. By segmenting customers who can pay for good quality content, and also there are certain customers who pay for who are more targeted by advertisers, so they pay lesser. And also, SN mentioned about high definition. I think that's an area where cable has really not focused much. Our high definition numbers are far lower than what DTH has got. I think that's an area where cable can really make a big difference. Because our high definition quality is far superior to what DTH can provide, because we don't have bandwidth constraints. And that is one area where I can definitely look at consumers coming forward and saying, okay, this is good quality, I'll pay more. This is good content, I'll pay more. And that's where we have got to get it.
Yeah, so how much of your customer base is actually the HD?
It's embarrassingly low. I don't think it's in the region of about 100,000.
And how do you get
No,
this
so
higher up?
we've got a plan, and I think one of the things which we've realized is that our infrastructure is not a sales infrastructure. On the cable TV side, we have a broadband side, which has always been a B2C business right from the beginning. But the cable TV business has been a B2B business. So when you go out and compete with the big marketing budgets with the DTH guys have, right? I need to match up to that. I need to get out there and market my service. My infrastructure is more of a cash collection kind of an infrastructure. It's not a marketing infrastructure, which I have. So I think there's a need to really rejig that to much more of a consumer-focused, more branding-oriented marketing kind of an organization, which can then go and sell out HD.
I understand. So how is that going to happen with the same people that you have working with you?
We're not, we're getting talent. We're getting talent from outside. It's not, there is a big, significant chunk of, our organization which, is dedicated at looking at HD itself separately. I think we have tried numerous experiments on HD and it has not worked. And one of the things which now we have realized is this whole DNA of marketing and consumer focus which has to come into Hathway. So that's something which we're working very strongly on. And also we have upgraded all our headends. Now all our headends now can carry 50 high definition channels and good quality. We don't choke the bandwidth for these channels. So these channels have got good quality signals. And, there are times when DTH blacks out because of the rain attenuation problem. And those are things which we have not really gone out and, explained to the consumers, that we are a good service. There's always a connotation of cable being a little inferior to DTH. I think that's what we'll have to now dispel and work on.
So are we also going to see uniforms as far as, or you already have uniforms?
Uniforms it's easy to do uniforms. I think, it's like, it's the thinking which has to change. I don't think uniforms by itself is a solution. I think you have to get people to think more consumer focused. I think buying uniforms and giving them is very simple.
But it's a package, you do it together and then the cable operator's image is not really, though there's a relationship, the image is paise lene aata hai.
Well, the same cable operator comes with a uniform and, it doesn't make a difference to the consumer. Raju has been there with him for 10, 15 years. He puts a new dress and comes, he's still Raju, right? So it doesn't change him. So I think it's the thinking which has to change, really. It's not.
And how is that going to happen? I mean, you're saying like SN is working with he's having these workshops.
Yeah. I think what SN was mentioning is about getting, see on the cable TV side, we have this intermediary in between, which is the local operator, right? I think we have to work together. I think those workshops which SN was mentioning that he's going to do with the operators is something which is a great step. I think we are doing that with a lot of our operators. We've launched this platform called
Hathway Connect. I was coming to that.
Yeah. So that's something which is part of a journey which we're getting even the operators co-opted into this whole process of consumer focus.
Great. Now, are the the regulator was saying that everybody needs to work together. So are the broadcasters, you address the LCO side, the broadcaster side, are they open to doing the deals? Even SN was saying it, that they're not really in phase 3 and phase 4 versus phase 1 and phase 2. So are you seeing an easy reception from the broadcaster side as far as expanding in these areas is concerned?
See, that's been one bugbear we have had in this industry. I think we've had our run-ins with the broadcasters in lots of instances. The biggest cost item in our P&L is, of course, the content cost. And unfortunately, in this process of digitization, I must say that we've had some issues because even before we could really go out and monetize at the consumer level, at the LCO level, we were being squeezed on the content cost. So we ended up just being collection boys for the broadcasters. So that was a problem. In fact, that is a big problem. And unfortunately, we had to get the regulator into place. And though we are not very happy to have the regulator discussing pricing, which should really be market oriented, but we are in a position where between the LCO and with the broadcaster, we are in a hard place. So we need to get that equation sorted out.
So the broadcaster equation still needs sorting out?
It does need sorting out, yes.
And how is that going to happen? I mean, there is the MRP thing is coming up. How is that going to happen?
Yeah, so there are lots of things in play here. So I think there's MRP, there is the regulation about transparency, non-discrimination, and like Mr. Gupta said, in another 15 days we'll know how the contours of the tariff order is going to be. We're looking forward to that.
Great. Now, you set aside 500 crore for capital expenditure in FY 2017. Rupees 300 crore is in broadband and 200 crore is in cable TV. How do you see these being deployed over the next few quarters? The first quarter is over. So how do you see it rolling out?
No, so we currently pass through, on the broadband side, 3.3 million homes. We have about 7 lakh broadband active subscribers. We hope to increase that to 1 million homes by the end of this financial year. So all the money which we've got to invest is really on the on the broadband side. Because if you really look at the cable TV side, in phase 1 and phase 2, there was a lot of subsidizing the boxes which is happening. The box were being given away at about 1,000 rupees a box as subsidy. Now that's not required now. In phase 3 and phase 4, on one hand, the box price has come down. And 2, we have all decided not to subsidize the box. I mean, subsidize to a small extent. So the investment for cable TV is already been done, and any incremental investment in the box is already being funded by the market itself. So it's going to be completely broadband. I think a lot of the investments will go into expanding our broadband footprint. And we see very good traction on the broadband side.
Great. I'll come to broadband later. Are you also on course to complete your deployment of 1 million set-top boxes that you had planned in phase 3 and phase 4? How far have you gone in that area?
No, we've crossed million in phase 3 already. I think.
No, for this year I was talking about.
Yeah, we've crossed 1 million. But if you look at, this year starting from January till now.
Okay.
We've crossed it 1 million, but it's still very slow. I must say it's very slow. You still have analog signals rampantly being shown in phase 3 areas. The take-up rates are extremely slow. Combination of this stay and also we need to get broadcasters also sensitized to the fact that they have to shut off these signals in phase 3 areas. So we hope next week again there is this case which comes up in Delhi High Court. Hopefully that should solve these problems.
Yeah, in terms of your digital subscriber base was 10.6 million as of 31st March. So has the needle moved up further? Or,
I think it's moving. It's like I said, it's moving at a very slow pace. We are very strong in the except the north. If you remove the north, I think we're very strong in East, Central India, South, and in the West. Our partner in Gujarat is also very strong. So we're seeing a lot of traction there. I think we should get to our total footprint is about 12 million. I think in the next half a year, I think we should cover the whole area.
And numbers you're looking at?
12 million.
12 million. Okay,
Is our footprint.
great. In terms of your content cost, in phase 3 is about 30 rupees currently, in that range. And there are other costs also, 20 rupees, which are being put on your, which are kind of dragging you down. What improvements have you seen over the past year? And what do you expect to see in the coming year?
See, I think I can't give you forward-looking statements because we are, again, constrained by these SEBI guidelines. See, typically any distribution business should have content costs in the range of about 35 to 40%. I think if we get to that level, we are comfortable. And that's the target which we're looking at. If we are within the region of about 35%, which we have to share with the broadcast community, I think we are fine.
Great. In terms of, your ARPUs are at about, from CATU, about 107 rupees an average. And you're looking at taking them up to about, what, 130, 140 or 120?
120 net of taxes is what we aspire to get on phase 1.
Okay.
Phase 2, we should get to 100 plus by the end of this financial year. And phase 2 and phase 1, over a period of time, should converge, actually. I think these markets behave similarly.
And phase 3 and phase 4, what are we looking at? Are we looking at 50, 40?
No, I was really happy when SN said he's going to get to 75. So I think 75 is where we would like to get to.
Excellent. Coming back to the other questions, I have them here. Your Hathway Connect, how is that working out with the LCOs? I mean, are they really using it all the time, or you're having to nudge them?
Hathway Connect has been a very good success in the places where we implemented it, namely Bangalore, Calcutta, and a big part of Western India, Maharashtra basically. The feedback from the trade has been very good. Essentially, Hathway Connect, what it does is really give the power to the local operator to manage his business. We've given him the ability to look at his consumer base and the ability to activate, deactivate, upgrade, and even to look at their own cash collection systems. So we have had operators, and in fact, I can give you testimonials of a lot of operators from Bangalore especially, and even in Thane, we have got a lot of operators who have come very positively. The reason is, if you look at the economics of the operator, the local operators have been in this business for the last 20 years nearly, and they made lots of money. They have, been very entrepreneurial, and in the way they were operating, and they made immense amount of wealth, and they were slowly delegating a lot of the work to their own employees. So their involvement in the cable TV business became less and less. They diversified into various other businesses because of the money they made. So there was a lot of leakage within their system. What Hathway Connect does is to give the LCO the ability to go and activate each customer. He has to necessarily activate each customer of his. If he doesn't do it, the customer loses the signal. So he gets a pressure point from the ground. So what's happened is that the lot of leakages amongst his own staff, because they used to go and collect cash, and if they collect, let's say, 350 rupees from the consumer, what they come and put back to the LCO would be 250 or even 300. Now that malpractice will come to an end with our kind of a system. And the other thing is that we have also increased consumer price. We've done we have revised our packaging. We made it simplified. We made it a two package, essentially a two package kind of structure. And that has also increased pricing from the ground. And the third thing is there's a lot of discipline in his own way of working. I think a lot of times if he has 100 customers, he never used to go and take a stock of what each of those 100 did. He was happy if in a month 60 of them paid. But this gives him the discipline to say, okay, I have to go to the 100 customers and get the money. So a lot of operators in Bangalore have come back and said they've got increase in their revenues by 20 to 30%. So it's been good experience so far. Bangalore has been fully, if you look at our total base, we've at least converted 60% of our base into this new platform. And people are seeing the benefit of doing this. Consumers are seeing the benefit because they've been able to make their choices. We have now given the ability to do these, the operator can actually operate his network from anywhere in India where he has
on a mobile.
Yeah, on a mobile. There's an app on a mobile which he can actually go and activate his customer from anywhere where he's got an internet connection. So we are using technology to solve this problem, basically. I think one of the things which we did is to invest very heavily in our back-end systems. We've got the Oracle billing and revenue management system, so that's a very, very strong and solid system on the back-end. And then that has enabled us to really layer all these additional services and apps to give this kind of a service to the LCOs and to consumers.
But isn't the entertainment tax bit kind of worrying the LCO or the MSO, being transparent?
Yeah, I think that is a definite worry. But
because in Bombay, the jewelers were raided a few days ago.
I think eventually things are getting more and more transparent. I don't think you can get away with being underdeclared all throughout. And also, if GST comes and hopefully with the pace it's happening, I think by 1st of April, if GST happens, it's going to be a big plus. Because you have a situation here now where we pay both service tax and entertainment tax. So if there's both of them subsumed into one tax.
They're talking about 18%.
18%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Currently, if you look at the numbers, it's about 30% from the cable TV sector.
Depending on the place, city, or on the state.
Yeah, I'm saying an average.
Yeah, average, okay.
There are places which, like Maharashtra, which charges 40 rupees, 45 rupees a box. In Rajasthan, it's 0. But on an average, you would say 15 rupees as entertainment tax, and then you have service charge on top of that. So 30 rupees is our tax burden, which now, if that comes down to 18%, I think it's a good thing.
Fantastic. Now, do you ever see a scenario, you said you're investing in broadband, where broadband revenues will possibly overtake your cable TV revenues? And will cable TV be your ancillary business while you're a broadband player?
I think we've had this identity crisis in the company about whether we are a broadband business or a cable business. I think we are both. There was a time when we said we are a cable business which also did broadband, but I think we have gotten to a situation where we're saying we are a content distribution business. Now, whether it's broadband or whether it's traditional television, thankfully we are in both sectors. So if there is a boom in people consuming content through streaming devices in a Wi-Fi environment at home, and that's good for us because then it gives us the data consumption bills, which adds to our revenue. So I think we are in a sweet spot to that extent, that we've straddled both the traditional market, traditional way of distributing content and also the new way of distributing content.
So are you also going the OTT way? As far as Den is going the OTT way, Tata Sky has its own on the go. Are you also looking at that?
See, I think there is, OTT, the revenue model for OTT still is questionable. I think it's still not, people have taken steps to create a paywall for, Hotstar has got this 199 rupee per month, but I don't think there has been any traction in creating a revenue model for OTT, primarily because we have to blame the cable TV side for having given content so cheap. If you can get 500 channels, out of which 50 HD quality channels for 300 rupees, and if you were to consume all that content on your data bill, on your data connection, the data bill is going to be extremely high. So the price difference between cable TV and the streaming devices is huge. So that is going to be a big dampener. Having said that, the data costs are coming down, and hopefully in the next, a decade maybe, you could find that you'll have to look at both IP delivery and the traditional television delivery to subsist. And I don't think they will, cannibalize each other. I think it's going to be more supplemental, because television is going to be the primary mode of consumption, I would say, in content. I mean there is still, in our country, TV penetration itself is pretty low. It's about 67%. So you still have TV electricity to get to various homes. So I think India is not in a situation where, very highly developed countries which talks about OTT, cutting the cord happening, but it'll take some time.
Yeah, as far as DTH is concerned, is DTH going to steal a march over cable TV in the phase 3, phase 4 areas and in other areas, or is cable TV going to retain its ground?
I think DTH has a march in phase 3 and phase 4. I mean, phase 4 actually. The reason for that is because of the cost of service. I think for us, if I have to get my service out to a town or a village, the cost of service is so high that, and the revenue potential doesn't justify the cost of service. So for DTH, I don't think they have that because they are satellite and they have a footprint. So I think it's, and also I don't think, cable TV as an industry is very, upset about that, because the ARPUs in those areas are also low. I think, if you go out and check about how much everybody pays for their cable connection in phase 4 areas, the range is from 75 rupees to 150 rupees. So though ARPUs are low, so I don't think we are very stressed by DTH taking over phase 4. While on the phase 1 and phase 2, we've got about 60% of the market, 70% of the market in some places. In phase 3 and phase 4, probably that percentage will flip.
Thank you. Now, coming back to your broadband, you're going the GPON way rather than DOCSIS from now onwards?
Yes.
Pricing is almost the same for both?
That's right.
Your costs. So why GPON? And,
No, so we've evaluated all these technologies, and one of the things which we've realized is that the cost of maintaining a DOCSIS network is very high. You have to power the network throughout, while GPON doesn't. It's the active components in a GPON network, which is powered by electricity, is minimal. So the cost of maintenance is far lower than DOCSIS. That's one primary reason. The other reason is the cost of acquisition of a GPON customer was relatively much higher than the cost of acquisition of a DOCSIS customer. Now, with the technologies which have come in and with the kind of volumes which vendors are seeing, actually now, for me, the cost of a GPON subscriber is far less than a DOCSIS customer. So I think we're looking at GPON as and then the experience we've had in lots of areas has been extremely good. We have had, in markets like Bangalore, we have all the 3 technologies. We have MEN, we have GPON, we have DOCSIS, and in Hyderabad we have GPON. So I think that the consumer feedback has also been good, and we've been able to deliver good high speeds within the GPON kind of a network. So we are quite happy with that as a way forward, and also, that doesn't mean that we don't have a DOCSIS. We already have a footprint for DOCSIS, and it's our intention to extract from that footprint, because that's the cable plant which we have laid out. And there is a potential to expand further in the cable side, on the DOCSIS side.
Great. Now, coming, probably the last question before we throw it open to the audience, your Divine service which you launched, is that the way forward where you'll be launching a lot more services like this?
Yeah, I think, one of the advantages which we have versus the DTH service is the ability to give lots more localized services. I think, we've got head-ins, about 8 head-ins across the country. So I've got a head-in in Calcutta, I have a head-in in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Bhopal. So my ability to deliver locally relevant, hyper-local content is much stronger than what DTH can do. And in those, that's the thinking we have had behind. So we've been taking baby steps. We've built up a very modest content business as of now. And Divine is one big step in that direction. We've been able to, beam live the Ganesh Pandals of Bombay to our subscribers, and the feedback has been extremely good. We will be doing the Navaratris in Bombay now. So I think the ability to also tap the local advertising. See, currently local advertising, which is, the local jewelers, local hoteliers, and people like that, do not advertise on television. They normally use the supplements for print, which comes, and plus maybe radio. Now that segment is something which we can tap. So a restaurant in Bhandup can come on to the Hathway platform, and I have the ability to deliver that ad to just my Bhandup customers. It's the technology we have is there's a bit in the set-top box which identifies the PIN code of the area, and I can deliver those ads specifically for those customers. So that kind of technology exists. I think that's what we need to tap.
So how big do you see this growing in terms of your
local
revenues?
Advertising, it should grow. I mean, it's very small now, I think, but it should be a substantial number as we go along and get more and more localized with our content. We have got user-generated content on Hathway now. There's something called Hathway Tube, where users upload their videos and we then curate and edit it and then show it. So those are things which will happen as we go along. I think we don't want to build it to a scale of what the national broadcasters are doing. We don't intend doing that. It's going to be very, very hyper-local.
Great. Any questions from the audience to Jagdish, to JK? No questions. Thank you very much, JK. You've been